Welcome back to Midnight Sun Podcasting. Today, I want to talk about spiritual awakenings. And I know that's a very, very personal subject, but hopefully, me talking about my experiences could help you relate or help you be at ease with your own, which is the whole purpose of this podcast in the first place, is to reflect and to relate to the audience. So, yeah, this should be fun. So, to start off with my journey, I want to start from childhood because that's when it really started. Like in my last podcast, I was talking about how I was, what's the word, empathic, telepathic, just highly sensitive as a child. Like, I remember being able to, like, pick up on people's thoughts, pick up on people's feelings, predict what they'll do before they do it. It was very surreal at the time. And at the time, I didn't even have words to explain it. Like, this was even before I could form a sentence. I remember that far back. But, yeah, especially like with siblings, I can always, basically read their mind or just know what they're going to say. You know how siblings have that deep sense of, telepathy with each other. And that kind of carried over to everybody else that I like encountered during childhood. And I was so like natural at it that every moment felt like deja vu to me. That's as best as I can explain it. Um, Same with dreams. I would dream of things that happened before that actually happened in real time or in waking state, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. So it started in childhood. I felt like, or I feel like, I was just very in tune as a child. And as a child, I was so quiet. I was so like observative. I would just always like stare at people and I would just be tapping into their energy. And as I grew up, I learned how to not do that. I learned how to kind of block it off because I know all the empaths that are listening understand this. Like, you go into a room or you go to school or wherever, a place that's crowded with people, and you just feel so much, and it's kind of overwhelming. You got to learn how to block that out, or you got to learn how to be, I don't want to say so closed off, because you don't want to be closed off in the world. You don't want to mute your own psychic abilities, your own powers and stuff like that. You want to just learn how to be free and learn how to not absorb all energy that's around you, because you don't want to take on everybody's energy. You don't want to do that. Trust me. So as I grew, I kind of blocked it out too much to the point where I became super numb to it. And this happened like during my teenage years. I was still very sensitive, still very psychic, still very just in tune. But I chose to cover it up with trying to be, trying to fit in with my peers and stuff like that. Try to keep up with the times, keep up with society and stuff like that. Basically, I put on a mask, and that mask kind of like, no, it didn't kind of, it suppressed who I am. Like, it suppressed me a lot to the point where I forgot who I truly was at the time. And when you do that, you push yourself towards depression, you push yourself towards forgetfulness, and you push yourself towards ignorance, anything that's harmful to you. When you're not truly living in your light, you begin to sin, you begin to do all like types of stuff that are harmful to your spirit, to your soul, to your mind, to your body. Like, I wasn't eating right. Actually, childhood, I don't think I've ever ate right during childhood. Not childhood, but teenage years. I was just eating whatever, And I should have, if I could go back, I would change my diet. I would really be eating more like healthy stuff to build me up, to help me stay healthy, because I did start like getting migraines. I think I was like 6. I started getting migraines, and those migraines, some people don't see it this way, but for me, migraines were a spiritual thing. Like, it forces me to go within. It forces me to meditate. It forces me to be still with myself and sit in darkness and just reflect on everything. When I get migraines, I have to literally retreat into darkness, into silence, into solitude. And I think that's why I became like a homebody, because as a child, I was actually very outgoing. I was very outgoing, I feel like. But I was still kind of a lone wolf at the same time. I had my select group of friends, but like, I don't know. Those migraines really pushed me away from a lot of things. So in a way, like, that negative energy that I felt from those migraines were actually a positive thing, because they taught me how to meditate, taught me how to go within, taught me how to sit still with myself, how to process my emotions, my anger, my stress. Stress was like, some people know stress can cause migraines too, which I was going through stress at the time of being like a teen. Like I said, I was suppressing myself. I was not being who I truly am. I wasn't following my heart. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just going with the flow of society. And when you do that, you're just creating an unhealthy habit of like avoidance. You create voids that way. You don't want to live like that. Even though I realize like most of society lives like that. And I think that's why a lot of people are unhappy. That's why a lot of people take their anger out on everybody else. That's why a lot of people become narcissists, because they're avoiding their own trauma. They're avoiding healing. They're avoiding like the memories from their childhood, which can be painful. I understand like avoiding that, because it's easier to avoid something than to face it and to heal from it. It's easier to live in ignorance than to live in the knowing and to acknowledge what truly is and what truly isn't. So that's pretty much my teenage years. That led up to depression. And I never like really told my family this or anything, but when I was a teen, like 17, like towards the end of high school, I became really, really depressed. And that's when my migraines really, really started kicking my ass. Like every day. To the point where I had to basically drop out of high school. Like I was so, it was just a lot of like chaotic energy going through my head. Like it was painful. And that pushed me away from a lot of friends too. It pushed me away from school, of course. It pushed me away just from everything. But at the same time, it pushed me away from the things that weren't truly for me. So all negatives have a positive. All positives have a negative. That's how I see things. I see things in a dual nature. And that's what that depression taught me. Ever since then, it's like my brain has been fully active. When I went through that dark night of the soul is what they call it, I really like started diving deep in the rabbit hole. Started diving deep into myself, started diving deep into spirituality, meditation, esoteric and occultic, like knowledge, anything, you name it. I started diving into that because I wanted to find a solution to my problems. I wanted to find a solution to my pain and my suffering that I was going through alone. And I was hiding all of this stuff. And I don't even really talk about it still to this day, but because at the time I found a form of creative expression, which was poetry, just writing. What else? Poetry, writing books, music. I was just like finding a lot of creative outlets at the time, but poetry and writing and reading, studying and meditating and doing all these spiritual techniques and from different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions. I started just studying like everything because I wanted to find myself. I wanted to find myself through Christ, through Buddha, through Shiva, through Krishna, through ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, ancient America, like you name it. I pretty much dived into it at the time. And I'm very thankful I did that, because that really helped me find my soul, my purpose, and it helped me remember my childhood again. It helped me remember the abilities I had as a child, like how in tune I was. I wanted to be that in tune again, but more with myself. I wanted to be able to understand why I felt certain ways, why I dreamed certain things, why I was getting certain like messages and omens every day. That's another thing. Like at the time when I was depressed, I started to see so many things. Like I started to see my own unhealthy patterns, and I stopped in the tracks because I didn't want to live like that anymore. I didn't want to put myself through more suffering, and that really, really helped me start like seeing signs from angels, from God, from my ancestors, from my guides, my spirit animals, power animals, whatever you want to call them. And man, let's just say 2010, 2011 to 2012, I was going through a huge spiritual awakening. And at the same time, I was going through a huge depression and a huge just restart of friends, restart of everything. My whole mindset changed. It was like I became a whole new person, but at the same time, I became myself again. I became one with my inner child. And I know there's levels to it, but that was the start of something great for me. And still, it caused a lot of chaos. It even caused chaos with my own family. Like, I felt like my own family didn't understand me at the time, which was understandable, because I never really expressed to them how I felt about stuff. Like, I'm a very quiet person. I keep to myself a lot. So, like, me doing a podcast, this is so out of my element, but at the same time, it's healthy for me because I have to find outlets. You can't hold everything inside. You can't hold all your knowledge, and you just can't hold it in. It's better out than in. I think my grandpa used to say that. It's better out than in. Which self-expression is freedom. And freedom is everything I desire. If I don't feel free in something, I will rebel from it and find that freedom. That's just how I am. That's how my astrology chart is too. I'm a rebel. But even if I have to rebel against myself, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a solution. And I'm going to find healing any way possible. So I found healing through all of that. And as I became an adult, it's like all the abilities from my childhood that I spoke about became so sharp. So sharp. And that's how I got really good with dream recall and dream interpretations and omens. I just started studying all these signs and symbols, and I was writing metaphors and poetry at the same time, and it clicked. Like, God speaks through metaphors. Our subconscious speaks through metaphors. Angels speak through metaphors. Your ancestors and guides and spirit animals are all metaphors. They all speak to you through metaphors. That's how I see into the metaphysical. Like, that's how I operate. That's how my brain works. My brain is very poetic, and it's always been like that. My intuition is very poetic, and it's always been like that. Even the way I read people's energy and see people's souls is poetic. So poetry is basically my first language. When I was a child observing everything, the voice in my head was poetic. Even if I didn't know how to form like words, the way I felt was poetic. My heart is poetic. So that's my key on how I maneuvered through depression and the dark night of the soul, and how I became more sharp with my spiritual abilities and my psychic abilities. So if you have an outlet, use that outlet to find your way. through darkness, through ignorance, through suffering, through pain, through whatever. That's your gift. Like, that's your calling, literally. That's a part of your calling and your purpose on this planet, is to find an outlet, and not only to help yourself, but to help everybody else. And that's the whole purpose of expressing yourself, is to not only help yourself, but to be a reflection, to be a mirror for everybody else. So, yeah. I can sit here and talk about spirituality all day, but I don't want to give away too much. Like, I got a lot of other content I want to create. So I don't want to dive deeper into how I read things or how I tap into things. That's for another time. But if you follow me on Twitter, I'm pretty sure you see me talking about a lot of this stuff over the years. So if you have any questions, just DM me. We can talk. I talk to anybody. I don't judge anybody. I literally try to follow like how Christ approached everybody. He didn't judge anybody. He was open to anybody who was really seeking like help or salvation or whatever. Not saying that I'm Christ or anything, or I'm the key to salvation, but I'm just saying that I'm always here to help. I'm always here to like show compassion, understanding, anything. Like, I'm not one of those people that put myself like on a pedestal, like I'm better than everybody because I know this or know that, or I've been through this or been through that. I'm not like that. I think everybody has a gift. Everybody has they have their own gems that they need to share with everybody else. So that's why I approach people, or people approach me so openly, because like you can learn so much just from humbling yourself. You can learn so much just from hearing somebody speak about their passions or about a topic or a subject that they've been through, or you just got to be open. You got to have a listening ear. When your ears are open, your inner eye is open. All your senses connect in some way. So if you're one of those people that are too big-headed to listen to somebody who you think they don't know what they're speaking about, then it's probably you who doesn't know what they're speaking about. You got to be humble, because you don't truly know everything. And when you know that, you know there's so much more to know and so much more to learn. Like, I learned that I was a life path 33, which is master teacher. But I don't really see myself as a master teacher. I see myself as a master student. And what I mean by that is, I may have studied something or experienced something and learned a lesson through something. But if somebody comes to me and they're talking to me about a certain subject, I'm going to put myself in the student spot. Even if I already know it. I'm going to listen. That way I can learn another angle of the subject. And that's how you basically learn more degrees of a certain topic. Like, you don't know every angle of a subject or object or a person or a thing. You don't know everything. So when people approach you to something like that, have an open ear. There's nothing wrong with having an open ear to people who just want to speak. Like, I think a lot of people learn stuff and they get this spiritual ego, and that spiritual ego can really taint a lot of connections, a lot of you can just taint a lot of things. And humble yourself. There's nothing wrong with being humble, and there's nothing wrong with being confident either, but you don't know everything. Remember that. Every day, approach life like a student. That way you learn more and more. That way you learn more compassion for everybody else too. But I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you for tuning in to Midnight Sun. Tune in next week. I don't have a topic right now, but I can speak about anything all day, any day. So, again, thank you. Peace.